All right, welcome back to DBTalks Football Podcast. Today we've got a Copa del Rey special where we cover Barca's grind out win 2-0 away at Racing Santander to reach the quarterfinals and Real Madrid's shocking loss to second division Albacete in Arbeloa's first game in charge. So we'll discuss both games. Both games were pretty shocking to look at. Yeah, we'll discuss some major points from, I guess, both games. But I guess focusing on Barca first, the game that was played today, Barca make it to 11 wins in a row in all competitions. But they did need, again, like as we saw today, they didn't keep it clean sheet, but we did need two really late goals to cover up and win this game. And this was, I think, really similar to the Guadalajara game where we also scored two very late goals. So again, I think against these small sides in the cup, I think we really have to grind out results, and it feels like we don't really score goals or make enough chances to like get a early lead, and it feels like we lead the game to like the very end. And also, I think even in this game, there was like a couple of chances for um, what's it called, Racing Santander to like get the like draw and score their own goal. So we were lucky to actually not go to extra time. And to be honest, yeah, we just grinded this win out. But yeah, well, let's start with the Barca versus Racing game, and then we'll switch over to Albacete versus Madrid chaos. But yeah, you want to talk about the lineups for this game, Rajesh?
Sure. So, yeah, with the lineup, Flick kind of, I think, kind of take a mix of, the Gala 11, I guess, like the Barca's best 11, but also did some rotation. So, for example, keeper Joan Garcia started. So, I think Flick even said before that Joan's number one, and no one's gonna really start, no one's gonna start over him. So, we didn't see Chesney or Ter Stegen or Cochin start. It was Joan Garcia. And I think that was a pretty good choice because we saw later in the game that Joan Garcia made some pretty good saves and kind of also he kind of decided the outcome, I'd say. And then right back Koundé. So yeah, Koundé starts again at right back, and coming off the Madrid game, because a lot of people are questioning Koundé because he in the Madrid game he had some errors, like versus Vinny, he didn't defend well, and he let Vinny get past him, and Vinny scored a goal off that. So I think with like Koundé, like some fans are kind of on the fence with Koundé, but so he started at right back. And then center back, we had kind of the duo that we've seen most of the time, but recently Flick has been playing Eric at center back, but he actually stuck with the Gerard Martin Kubarsi center back duo, and Eric was on the bench. So yeah, that duo was a center back duo, and left back Balde started again. So yeah, Balde I think is kind of for sure locked the left back position, because before, I mean, there was like people would say like, oh, if Balde's like can get rotation, then Gerard Martin can start. But then I guess Flick wants to keep Balde playing more, so I think maybe some games I think Balde might need more rest because he did play a full 90 today. So I think with Balde, because he's also kind of had some injury, I guess scares and like issues the past few seasons. So I think his minutes can definitely be like, I guess, monitored. But I guess moving on to the double pivot. So kind of interesting, because we saw Casado start and we saw Mark Bernal start.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I started, but I don't know why my pronunciation is weird with that. But yeah, with Bernal, so we haven't really seen him play either. Same with Casado. So I guess seeing them start right off the bat as starters in a double pivot, where the last time we saw them start as a double pivot, they didn't really. I guess they didn't play super well, but that's kind of expected. But it was kind of interesting seeing Flick throw them both in the starting lineup today. But I guess he just really wanted to rest Pedri and I guess even like De Jong. And then we also saw Olmo play. He also started. I think Olmo actually was pretty. I think he had some pretty good moments actually, and I think right now I think the most contested position is the 10 between Fermin and Olmo, and then people are even saying like probably Lamine the 10. People want Rafinha, but I think we kind of seen Rafinha play the 10 before, and he hasn't. That's not his like strongest position. So I think with a player like Rafinha, there's no point playing him there when he can play much better at a different position. And then the front three. So Rashford started. It's been a while since Rashford's really like started, so he got his minutes, and then Lamine started, which I mean, I wasn't surprised because I guess Flick really likes playing Lamine in like Copa del Rey. Like he started in the last Copa del Rey game, so Yeah, I guess Lamine started, and also I guess what I'm thinking is I think if he knows he puts too much rotation, that there's a chance that the that any opposition can actually take advantage and do better because I think Lamine's super important and he's one of the Barca's like main creative outlets. So I think you want a player like Lamine with that high quality to still, you know, I guess give Barca a huge advantage to take the win because this is a game that Barca had to win. It's kind of no excuses for Barca to lose a game like this. I think he wanted Lamine to kind of like ensure that. And then striker Ferran Torres, the shark. I mean, I think it's kind of expected. I think with Lewandowski, it's kind of hard to like start him all the time because he's aging. So I think he didn't want to start him for that reason. And I think Ferran, the thing with Ferran is like he may be inconsistent, but I think when he's scoring, his goals are usually very like clutch. So I think he knows that Ferran's a good striker, so he just played him in this game to give him minutes. And also, there's no real risk playing Ferran over Lewandowski. I think in a game like this, so I think that was a pretty good decision. And I mean, yeah, that was the lineup. I think it was a pretty solid lineup. And I think just want to mention about the Madrid game. I think that after seeing Madrid lose, I think there was a lot of a bit of like I guess fear that if Barca were to lose today, that it would kind of like it would look pretty bad. I think like Barca lose as well. I think Barca definitely wanted like the win to just and even having Madrid out of the competition is one strong opponent less. So I think if Barca can take advantage of it, Barca can win the trophy. So I think that's kind of why this lineup was chosen. It was a mix of rotation, but also like starters. Like the entire back five, including like back four plus keeper, are starters. And Lamine started. So yeah, I think that's my that's the lineup for that.
Yeah, another thing to note about the Copa del Rey, like some fixtures against the lower teams like Athletic Bilbao, they played a lower league team, and so did Atletico Madrid. They also, like, I think, struggle. So, playing these kind of cup games against the lower division sides, I guess it's really tough. Like, Athletic Bilbao going 3-4 to the other club in extra time as well. Like, it just shows how these clubs are kind of struggling. And yeah, I mean, back to the Madrid point, I think you mentioned, like, yeah, we were like there was a bit of pressure on us because like if we did lose, it would look really bad on us. But I think we did show Madrid like how to do it, how to deal with the cup result against a lower team, and we also like played a harder opposition, I'd say, because Racing Santander are actually first in their league, in the second division, whereas Albacete are 17th. So honestly, yeah, really shocking about that Madrid loss. But going back to the Barca game with the lineups. I think the goalkeeper. I think yeah, we're gonna see João Garcia start no matter what type of game it is. I think he's the number one for sure. And then our defense, yeah, Kunde. I think coming off the Madrid game, he had a really poor game. And again today, I don't think he had like that much of an impact. Like he was decent. I think he did get run past a couple times, but again, I think he was decent going attacking wise. But another thing for Kunde, I think he really has to improve his crossing. I think like he does well to get into his attack positions, like overlapping Lamine, but I think sometimes with his crossing is just really like inconsistent and just doesn't go to targeted place as much. The defense, I think Kubarsi and Martin, I think they were expected to start today. I think Eric Garcia was given a much needed rest because I think he's before this game he started like 20 plus games consistently back to back. So like he's been a major part of this team, and for the rest of the season we're going to really need him. So he does need a bit of rest. So I think it was a good decision from Flick to do. And Balde as well, he started. I think Balde today he wasn't too much. I think recent weeks, like in recent form, Balde hasn't really shown me like his levels. I think attacking wise, I haven't seen really too much. Like I'm used to seeing Balde overlap so much, almost like a left winger. I do feel like that kind of gets um prohibited because Rashford's playing left wing because Rashford tends to stay way more wide than like a player like Rafinha would because we used to know like Rafinha to invert almost at like a central striker position. So I think yeah, when Balde and Rashford kind of play, I don't think they mesh with each other like as well. Like not really. I mean, I just think Balde doesn't go attacking wise as much as we know him to. And yeah, I think the defense overall today was decent. I think we did concede like a couple big chances to Racing Santander, but again, I think they were pretty decent. I think João Garcia made a couple good saves. But moving on to the midfield again, we've seen this Casado Bernal kind of pivot kind of not really work out during parts of the season. And I think today they were also like pretty decent. I think Bernal had a good couple like dribbles and moments, but again, nothing too special. But I do think it's important for him to continue getting minutes for the team. Casado, I think also like he was pretty okay. But I really do think like Casado's passing back. I don't know what's happened to him. Like last season, like in the Bayern game, he used to have those big switches and stuff. I really don't see that as much anymore. And also like I think his tackling wise, he's really good. I just think like his passing, like progression and all that, it really needs a bit of work. And I think he needs to pick up form on that, like that kind of thing with the game. And almost started. I think I did expect him to start because we've seen Fermin. I think he played the Clasico, and so Almo could get some good minutes in this game. And like in the tight spaces, I think obviously the Santander were expected like to play a low block, so having a player like Almo would be good to unlock the defense. And then with the attack, I think this was really expected. I think Ferran, obviously Lewandowski coming off the Clasico, he started the game, so Flick is obviously going to try to manage his minutes, and having Ferran in using Ferran in this type of game is going to be important to do. And then Rashford, again, yeah, he also hasn't got like many starting minutes, so having him start this game was also pretty good to see. But the main thing I'm concerned with Flick, I think it's the right winger position. I think I really wanted to see Rooney start this game because you know every time he's given that chance, as we mentioned, he's really thrived. And I feel like again, like as I mentioned before, Flick almost uses like Rooney in one type of game, then he lets him be on the bench for like 5 to 6 games. Then again, we don't like really see him as much in the team. So again, like even like not even coming on for Rooney, I think that was a bit disappointing to see. So Yamal playing the full 90, I don't really know like why like he needed to do that because obviously he got the goal, but I think he should have been rested. And in a game like this, like obviously we had the lead for a bit, and I just feel like Rooney could have had an impact as well in this game. But I guess yeah, moving on from the lineup, obviously we're happy to win, but for the first half, I really don't think we really did much. I think the first half was really like a stalemate. It felt like we were trying to make as many shots as we could, but again, like really poor. I don't think we really created much, and I think like we held on to possession like for I think 80% or something like in the first half. But again, we really didn't do much with the ball. So again, yeah, really disappointing first half. Did you have any thoughts about that?
And so for the first half, I kind of agree. When I was watching, I think Barca didn't create good enough chances to really break, Racing. I think there were like some opportunities where Barca were okay, but I feel like a lot of it, I think the Racing Santander, I think they did a very good job handling Barca defensively, especially in the first half. I think actually they were pretty impressive actually, and even though they're a second division team, I think they showed a lot of, I guess, strength against Barca, which was pretty impressive to see. Where they're able to win the ball at Barca, they're able to try to spark some counterattacks, and trying to get a goal. And defensively, they were very good just blocking Barca. They were able to kind of neutralize the wingers, so like Rashford and Lamine. I think they did a good job in making sure they weren't scoring. Like when Lamine was taking shots, it was kind of shots that weren't going to go in anyways. They were very weak shots. And Rashford, I think, like he took some shots and they weren't that good, and also he would kind of lose the ball sometimes on the touchline. He would lose it possession, and they're good at like drawing corner kicks as well from Barca. So I think they handled that well, and I guess it was pretty impressive from them. But with Barca, with the expectation we have for Barca, where Barca coming off this El Clasico and a trophy, a win, I think fans expected much more, especially against a side like this, because even though it's on the away ground, I think Barca, if they want to really compete for the big trophies, they need to be consistent in any type of game, no matter if it's against a second division team or whether it's against a top European team. So I think the first half didn't show anything, but I think at the same time it shows that if Barca don't have their key players, then I think they really won't progress too strongly. So when I was watching the game, I saw a lot of fans during halftime say like, "Oh, sub on Pedri, sub on Rafinha," because they know that those are the two game changers. And on one side you can think of it as like, it's kind of not good relying on a few players, someone like Pedri, Rafinha, because if that's the case, that when they're unavailable due to any reason, then it makes Barca look weak. Like versus Chelsea, when Pedri was unavailable, we saw how weak the midfield was because it was really De Jong trying to control it against Chelsea, who had very good press from their wingers and their attackers and wingers, and then also the midfield. So I think Barca, I don't know, I feel like Barca are still missing some few key pieces that I think will really take them to the next level. feel like we keep on mentioning about the center back position. I think that's something that right now we're not really seeing many rumors, so I'm not sure how likely it is for Barca to even make any other signings. We saw Cancelo's, he isn't signing, but he didn't even play today, so I don't know. I feel like Barca are missing a few key pieces. I feel like Barca may need another midfielder because I feel like Bernal and Cancelo right now aren't at that level, and they may need some more time to really develop so that they can do much better in like games like these, or even games in the more top level. So yeah, I just think the first half didn't really give much. I would say if anything, I think Racing maybe played better because just like based off expectations, I think they actually handled themselves well, and it kind of gave some scares. To be honest, I mean there was like right before the halftime, they were able to get a good cross off when Koundé. I don't know what Koundé's really doing. Not good defending, I guess. The ball went through his legs and stuff. And yeah, I just think Barca didn't do well, and I think we see too much sometimes of Barca doing games like playing like this. We see it a lot last season in the league where Barca just don't have strong halves, and even though Barca get the win, I feel like the performance itself, it doesn't leave you satisfied. So I think like this half was one of the games. I think even the second half it was a bit like that, but yeah, I don't know. I just think the rotation, maybe like the midfield. I think because the game runs through the midfield, and I think when you have someone like Pedri or De Jong in the midfield, I think the chances created are much more higher quality. So there's a much more likely chance that that there's a goal that happens. And also want to quickly mention about Baldy because you said you didn't really like his performance, or you weren't like, I guess like too like, it wasn't your standard for like the type of player Baldy is. I think with Baldy, I think actually, I mean I agree like it's not his standard, but I think he was actually so decent. I think he was good, and I think when he has the ball, he's very good at holding onto the ball and just like dribbling and like finding the right pass or like exploring space. And I think he definitely had moments today where he did that. I think he was definitely like one of the players that were like doing something productive on the ball. I think also Olmo kind of impressed me a bit. I think on the ball he was okay. I think him and Lamine were trying to like link up a lot, and sometimes it didn't work because I feel like the Racing Santander's defense were very tight, so it didn't leave much space for Lamine or Olmo. So it's kind of hard to create chances off that. And Barca didn't really have like a player like Lewandowski, like a poacher who would be good at like heading the ball or like playing in the box. I feel like Fran, he's not always like that type of player, so I think Barca couldn't really rely on those chances in the first half at least.
Yeah, and then moving on to the second half, I mean, again, you mentioned like it was kind of similar to the first half, but I think it started at least like the first 5 to 10 minutes. But I do think we did pick up a bit. I think we made a lot more like better chances. And you mentioned like having like these type of games where like we don't really create much and it kind of feels like a stalemate for both sides. I think whenever we see like players like Pedri and Rafinha and even like Firmino, who's a presser usually, I think without them, like the intensity really drops a bit. I think we don't create as many chances as we'd like to. I just feel like, as you mentioned, like if we really depend on them like this, I think, yeah, you mentioned like without their availability in some circumstances, like if one of them gets injured, like even in the start of the season when we had poor form, like we really have to adapt to situations like that because, you never know, like in the tail end of the season when we surprisingly don't have like one of them or two of them. And if we can't adapt, then it's just going to mean like the team doesn't perform at all, which is not acceptable. So I think Flick kind of needs to find like a second kind of lineup that's really solid. And obviously missing players like Pedri and Frankie de Jong, who was suspended today, I think obviously missing them in midfield is obviously going to have a big difference. But against a second division club, I'd expect to like at least dominate a bit more than what we did throughout the whole game. But yeah, in the 66th minute, we saw Ferran Torres get his goal. I think it was a pretty good goal because I think, yeah, Fermin came on, he got his assist. So again, it just shows how Fermin is a really good presser and he kind of is really creative when he decides to pass and stuff like that. So again, yeah, really good ball to Ferran, and then again he runs the keeper. So yeah, really good goal from him, I guess, really well taken. And I feel like, yeah, whenever Ferran gets these types of chances, he tends to score. So having him in the lineup with his attacking runs, it just feels like it's really important. And there's a high chance of him scoring. So yeah, really good for Ferran, I guess. Even though like he doesn't like, I guess, appear most of the game, he still gets those one or two moments where he can score. So I guess he's good for that. And yeah, without Lewandowski, it's just important to have a player like him to, I guess, fill in. And again, like even after that goal, I don't think like we had too many other chances. I think again, Racing Santander had a couple chances, and it felt like they had that one disallowed goal, which is obviously offside. I think he was way offside, but again, yeah, it just showed like they still had a couple chances, and yeah, I think they had another like ruled out goal, but yeah, nothing too much. And then the big moments was in the 94th minute when I think Lozano it was he ran one on one against Joan Garcia, and then again Joan Garcia comes in clutch. He makes a big save, although it like really comes like at him at Joan Garcia like the shot. I still give credit to Joan Garcia because I felt like he did really come out at the right time, and he didn't make himself big to like get in the way of the shots and the net. So again, really big on Joan Garcia. I do feel like we could have easily conceded if Lozano decided to like cut back to his teammate or something like that. But again, we did get lucky with the poor decision making from the other team. But then right after that, we got our chance. We got a chance to finish the game, and straight from that save, we counter attack, and then obviously we see Rafinha break down the right, and he scores it for Yamal at the far post, and then we basically have a tap in to seal the game, 2-0 with literally the last kick of the game. So again, like we take the performance. I do feel like it was similar to the Guadalajara performance where we didn't really create as much as we'd like to, and again we got two really late goals. So I guess again with these kind of low division sides, we do like they are gonna come with a lot of passion and playing away. Like all the fans are gonna be behind their players. So again, like we saw yesterday again, like with Madrid, like all like even though they like even though they came like back in many moments, it felt like Albacete always had the advantage, and it felt like even in this game, if we didn't take more of our chances, I felt like Racing could have come back as well. So again, I do think it's really important to win games like these. I think winning 2-0 might have been not like the full justice of the game. I think we should have won this either like 2-1 or maybe 1-0. I really don't think. I think Racing could have scored one goal at least. But again, yeah, what were your thoughts on the second half?
Yeah, so you kind of said it all because I feel like second half also similar to first half. I don't think there's anything too crazy. I feel like I feel like Barca. I feel like what I think is I feel like one of the two like main things you want to see is a win and also just like a nice entertaining game, like the style that's being played. I feel like we've seen Hansi Flick's Barca play some beautiful football before, but I feel like recently I feel like there's some performances that you don't really see that, like even versus Madrid, even though that was such a great win. I feel like Barca didn't play like that Barca like DNA type style or even the Hansi Flick style. And I feel like against lower teams, Barca should be like I feel like Barca should be performing better because there's such a difference in quality. I feel, and I know that it's hard to play these teams away because these teams love to play higher teams like Barca or Madrid because it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity, or it's like a very rare opportunity, right? So if they want to put on a good performance for their fan base and themselves, they try a lot, right? But I feel like still with Barca has such high quality, and you can argue with Barca. I think Barca like easily a top 5, maybe a top 3 team right now this season. So I feel like Barca should have played much better. I feel like Barca have the players that can play great together. Like Rafinha came on and Pedro also came on. So I feel like they didn't make like the difference that people wanted. Like I feel like a lot of people wanted a more comfortable win, and I feel like it was more shaky. Even though the scoreline didn't really reflect it, I feel like this is a pretty shaky game. Like you mentioned, that last chance where the Racing Santander player shoots it right at Joan Garcia. If he passed it to the right, it was an easy open net tap in, and it would have been 1-1 at that point. And Barca probably don't score the second goal, so it'll probably go to. I don't know if it goes straight to pens. I kind of forgot, but
It goes to extra time. Yeah.
extra time. I feel like even extra time, it can be hard to close it out, and I feel like you never know what happens in extra time, right? I mean, the last time Barca played extra time, it was the Inter game, and we kind of know that how that happened. So I feel like Barca don't want to risk that games like that where you go to extra time or even pens. I feel like that's just too risky, and it would just have a bit of bad luck, I think. But yeah. Again, second half, I don't really have to say much. I just feel like I guess I will say like I think like people like I think it's hard to see it sometimes, but I think Pedri had a pretty good game. I think he always makes such a difference. I feel like you just tell the difference when you see Pedri. He's so good at controlling the midfield, but also defensively, he's very good at just winning the ball back. And I think that's such a valuable asset you want in a player who can do stuff like that, because that kind of saved Barca a lot right? From not allowing the other team to get chances. So I just think Pedri's like that, like his presence is so important. So I feel like just him having that to his game, it just makes him more elite and is more, I guess, valued and more important to Barca. But I mean, yeah, I don't really have to say much because I feel like the second half it wasn't like that. Like nothing too crazy happened. I do think Racing. I think there are some moments where they were like very good on the counter, but I think Barca were able to. I mean, Joan Garcia especially was very good at just not letting them score, and the Highland was good at preventing some of their good chances from because they scored an offside goal. So Barca's Highland did good and just not letting that happen.
Yeah, and also another stat, like Joan Garcia has kept six clean sheets in his last 7 games, and he's only conceded 2 goals in his last 700 minutes of football. So, I mean, crazy stat for him. I think he's been so crucial, and I think he also might be pushing like even top 3 most important players for us this season. So, again, yeah, really important and really promising from him. But again, yeah, at the end of this game, I don't really think there's too much to talk about. I think it's good that we granted up this win, but it doesn't really make me too confident about Barca's performance levels. And I just feel like, I guess it does like feel better that we do have the mentality to keep winning, even though we don't perform as well as we can. But yeah, I guess just the takeaway is just that we won this game, and it's important to reach the quarters of the Copa del Rey. But as I mentioned at the start, like we make it 11 wins in a row now in all across all competitions. However, even like after the game, Flick mentioned that he called it nothing. Like the stat doesn't mean anything because the team still has to improve in managing games and defending transitions. So we can see that even Flick notices that like we do end up conceding big chances. So even he can see that we do need to improve on that aspect. But again, I do feel like this cup tie showed that how important a player like Joan Garcia and like the absence of Pedri and Rafinha and stuff are from the starting lineup. So I guess it does feel like in the big moments they tend to carry us through games and help us win more convincingly. But I guess yeah, let's move on to the other side of the brackets where Real Madrid are knocked out of the Copa del Rey, losing 3-2 away at Albacete, who again are 17th in the Segunda division. So this was Álvaro Arbeloa's first game as head coach, and with the rotated side missing Mbappe obviously due to injury and other big names, it feel like this game totally backfired on them. And you know, going into Arbeloa's first game, I did feel like he would get at least a decent win because you know you want to leave a good impression on everyone. But again, losing like this to Albacete away just feels like a really bad start to his tenure at least. And I do feel like there were reports already like Madrid are looking to find a new manager for the summer. So again, not an encouraging start for Arbeloa himself. So, but let's talk about the game itself. I mean, the first goal, I think Albacete take the lead in the 42nd minute when it was from a corner. So again, like I think Madrid have been really like poor and conceding corners. I think every time like they have like another team against them who have pretty good header players on their team, I think they do tend to concede a lot of corner goals. So again, a good header from the Albacete player. I think it was Javi VR. So again, good header from him to make it 1-0. But right before the second half ended, it felt like Madrid got their own corner goal. Again, a lot of chaos in the box, and it felt like the header was just played down in the box. And 17-year-old Franco Mastantuono, who I mentioned, like you know, if one of Vinny, Rodrigo, or Mbappe were to leave Madrid, a player like him or Guler could also like thrive more in the system because it would be more balanced. But yeah, he ends up equalizing the goal, for the score for Madrid in the 45th +3 minute. And at 1-1, I mean, what were your thoughts? Did you feel like Albacete could actually get a result from this game? And did you feel like, you know, Madrid were actually struggling for some reason?
I didn't watch the out of class. I didn't watch the game, so I can't really say much about the actual game. But I guess what I can say is from what I know, like going to the game, like I know that our Alvaro, he kind of made some big rotations. Like I think he left Mbappe and Jude right in Madrid to not play, and he kind of relied on Vinny to play today. So I think that like I don't know what his thought process was because it's his first game, and I feel like he needs to find a system that works for him if he wants to stay in Madrid for a long time. Like you mentioned, Madrid probably want a new manager. I feel like Alvaro is more of like a filler option right now. Like he's just there to fill in the time until Madrid can find the right replacement because I feel like right now the market's pretty dry for a manager. I mean, we see a lot of clubs like sacking managers, like United sacked Amarim, Chelsea sacked Maresca. I mean, I think West Ham got new manager as well, and Xabi Alonso we talked about that already, right? So I think the market right now is kind of dry for like top quality managers. I feel like managers available right now, I feel like some of them aren't really Madrid caliber, like what they really want to look for. I think one of the better managers right now that's available is Xavi, but obviously Xavi won't go to Madrid. That makes no sense. But someone like Amram, I feel wouldn't work at Madrid. I feel like he's too young. He needs more experience to work at a team like Madrid, because you kind of saw Amram kind of succumb to the pressure at United, but Madrid have even more pressure because Madrid have higher expectations than United. So I don't really see him working out at Madrid right now. And with Maresca, I think a lot of people are saying that he's waiting for the City job. So I feel like Maresca also, I don't think he'd really be a Madrid type manager. So I feel like Madrid is waiting for the right manager, and right now they just have the B team coach Álvaro take it in like for now. But yeah, I feel like I don't really get his decision on leaving Madrid players out to not play unless there was a specific reason that I don't know about. But I thought he would play them just to get a feeling of how they play and to create a system for himself. Because as a new manager, you want to take advantage of games like the Copa del Rey that aren't as significant as like a UCL game or even maybe like the league. Because the league right now is like it's still like no one's really for sure won the league yet. There's still so much time, so I feel like you don't want to risk dropping points in the league for no reason. So I feel like if you were to try to test players like a system, you would do it in a Copa del Rey game, because the Spanish Cup is over. So yeah, I just feel like that was a weird decision, and I mean, obviously it didn't work out, right? Because Madrid lost, and I from what I've heard and from how clips I saw, it was actually Albacete that was actually dominating the game. So I feel like that's just not a good look at all. And also Courtois wasn't playing as well. That was also, I think that also is that factors into Madrid's loss, I think, because Courtois is he's one of the best keepers. So I feel like losing him, that'd be like if Joan Garcia didn't play today. If he didn't play today for Barca, I think there could be a chance that the result's a bit different. We don't know, but yeah, I think it wasn't a good look from Álvaro to have that, and I don't know if that'll cause any future tension with Madrid, because we know that with Xavi's departure, that a lot of it felt like it came from like the attitude of the Madrid players and how they treated Xavi as a coach. So who's to say that they don't treat the new manager like that or anything similar? Because I feel like Madrid right now, I feel like they're very entitled, and I feel like at the same time they have kind of the right to, because they've won a UCL recently, and like Jude's a UCL winner, Vinny's a 2-time UCL winner, so Mbappe is Mbappe, he has a World Cup, and he's like an insane player, he's an all-timer. So I feel like they have the right to have that ego, but I feel like that ego, there's like a line to cross, and I feel like disrespecting or not treating a manager correctly, I feel like that where the line's drawn. So yeah, I just feel like I don't know if this situation is more of a manager issue or a player issue or even a mix of both. So I feel like this loss kind of reflected it could be like a both issue. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, speaking on Arbeloa, obviously, like if you are Arbeloa and you're in his shoes, you don't want to be seen as just like an interim. You don't want to be seen as just like someone, I guess, filling in for like the time being. You obviously want to do well. I'm sure he loves Madrid as a player, and he played there, and as a person, he probably loves Madrid. So obviously, he does want to do well at the club, but I do think like right now the position, I think sacking Xabi Alonso was a wrong decision. I think obviously like it was published that like Xabi Alonso asked to leave, but I do think there was kind of discussions behind the board with Florentino Perez. I think he did actually want Xabi Alonso to be sacked because of the recent results. But again, yeah, I mean, looking at Arbeloa, I mean, obviously he went in this game with like a lot of the what's it called, the second team of Madrid, so a lot of youngsters in the lineup. So again, if you're playing a team like Albacete, who are in the second division and almost near relegation, you'd expect to even win with even like 2 or 3 starters in the team. And also, it was also rumored that like Albacete actually rotated a couple of players, so even that they didn't play like their fully strong lineup, and they ended up winning. So again, really no excuses for Arbeloa here, but again, I think the main players that started for Madrid in this game was Vini and obviously Valverde. I think they were the main two starters. Also Hoyson, I think he had a really not too good of a game. But again, on Vinny, I think he got pocketed in this game. He didn't really create much. He had a lot of straying shots, and it felt like who was the right back for Albacete? Aguado. Like Kunde, have some shame, bro. This guy Kunde made Vinny look like Ronaldinho against us. So again, I don't know like what's up with Kunde. I think he has to do much better. But again, Vinny didn't really have a really good game. He had a lot of he. I think he was really selfish in a couple moments, and it felt like he wasn't really doing as much as he could, kind of creating for the team. But moving on to the second half, I think this was much more eventful in the later parts. I think obviously it started like in the 82nd minute where Albacete go 2-1 up. And I think, again, this was another defensive mistake from Madrid. It was a poor clearance, and then they were punished by Jefte Betancor, who kind of just puts into the net. And again, it felt like at this point Madrid could be losing this game, but again they find a way to equalize, and this time it was Gonzalo García who, in fairness, he had a really good goal. I feel it was a great header from a corner, and from Arda Güler. I think Arda Güler also had a pretty good impact. I think he is also pretty special, but yeah, I think both of them connecting to make that equalizer was pretty good to see. But it felt like after that point, like extra time would be coming because obviously it was scored in the 91st minute, and it felt like at that point, I guess both teams would like to go to extra time at least and maybe, I guess, fight for the winner. But again, yeah, Madrid felt like they completely switched off after that goal, and it felt like in the 94th minute, Albacete were kind of fully through. I don't know how the guy was fully open. I think who was it, Jefte, who came on. Like what a guy he scored, came on and scored two goals. So, I mean, respect to him. And it felt like, yeah, he was completely through on goal. And first time, I think he tried to cross it to his teammate, but the ball kind of rebounded back to him. And then fair play. I mean, what a finish from him. To be fair, like a stunning shot into the corner. And it felt like at that point, it was like, wow, like Madrid could actually really lose to this team, and it was going to be a historic upset. But I do think, I mean, we really can't judge Arbeloa too much. I mean, it's obviously his first game in charge. Like, you can't judge him too much on this game, but I do feel like it's a big shocker to the world of football. And it felt like, this is a historic moment for Albacete themselves. So I guess, yeah, even at the end of the game, I think I saw a couple players like gritty on Madrid, which was really funny to see. But um, yeah, again, really, really disappointing from Madrid's side, I guess. And it feels like, as you mentioned, like they're going to be looking for a new manager in the summer. So someone like a Klopp, I think, was mentioned, but he kind of died down the rumors himself. And also, so they're looking for like a Zidane, but I think he's going for like the French manager job. So again, I think for the future manager for Real Madrid, they need someone that can actually manage the players' egos more and not like really tactical as much. I feel like managers who have done well have always been like player. They can manage the players themselves and the egos in the squad. Because as you mentioned, there's like some big players in the squad. You have a Vinny, you have a Bellingham, and obviously Mbappe, and they're always kind of colliding with each other. So it feels like even like in the Copa del Rey, it was really disappointing to see like a player like Mbappe, who was so respected, to actually not give the guard of honor to Barcelona, and it felt like at that point it was really really disappointing to see. So again, I think that was a major reason also like behind the Xabi Alonso sacking, and I felt like the next Real Madrid manager is going to have to be someone with either like a lot of managing experience, someone that's really respected, or a player that's really respected, like a Zidane, before he got appointed to as Madrid manager. I mean, he's considered as one of the greats of all time. So obviously the players are going to respect him as a lot, and I think a manager like that will do really well for Madrid. So again, a manager like Klopp, a manager like Pep. I don't think Pep's ever going to happen realistically, but someone like that is really going to have to be like the best suiting for Real Madrid in the future. But yeah, what were your thoughts overall? I mean, the takeaways.
Yeah, I mean, I think seeing that loss was just so shocking. I mean, I only like Madrid fans definitely did not see that coming. I was watching. I saw the clip of Faisal's stream at the last minutes where Albacete got the third goal, and you see his reaction from like a minute before the goal, then a minute after. Like he's saying like, no way we're losing this, right? And then he's a goal, and he's just in shock. He doesn't even talk. He's just silent. But I feel like Madrid fans didn't see it coming at all, and yeah, it's just so crazy. I mean, I feel like this is one of the historic moments where like lower level teams get a win over big clubs. Last time it happened this season as well earlier when United lost to Grimsby in the EFL Cup. where that was such a shocking and upsetting loss for United, because the difference in quality is getting so high between the two teams. So it's like, when a team like Grimsby beats United and it was on pens, it's just like, I think it's like it's very shameful, especially for United.
Yeah, that was a great watch too.
They're just very, I think that's also the point where a lot of people just turn on Amarim. And I mean, if let's say Xabi was still managing and he lost to Albacete, I think for sure he would have been sacked by, I think every Madrid fan would have for sure turned on him. And yeah, I just think like, it's just not a good it's just very bad for Madrid. I think Madrid now only have the league and the UCL to win a trophy, so there's a chance they can go trophyless again this season, because the league right now, I mean, it's still undecided, but I feel like I think Barca, I think with Madrid's situation right now, they're too inconsistent to really compete for the league, at least right now, because I feel there's too much tension, too much like issues tactically and even off the pitch. So, and with the manager, so I don't know how they'll go in the league. And the UCL, I feel like there's so many good teams in Europe in the UCL that make some good runs and surprising runs. I mean, looking at even like in Italy, I feel like Napoli, even though in the UCL they haven't been performing, I think in the knockouts, I think they may be able to have some performances. I think Inter's also very strong. I think you look at in the Prem, I think Arsenal are a very strong team right now. I think Chelsea are good at knockouts. I think they're not an easy team to face. And then Barca I think are very strong as well. I think they can make a strong run. Bayern's also very strong. So we have so much competition in both the competitions that they're left in to win the trophy, and I feel like there's a chance to go trophyless again. And I feel like with Madrid standards, that's like super disappointing. I mean, when we look at like Madrid's worst seasons in history, it's always when they don't win a trophy. So I feel like this period that Madrid are in right now, post their UCL win in the 2023-24 season, I think like it's a pretty bad it's not that good, because even the football's not that good. So I just think they're in a pretty like upsetting period right now. And yeah, I mean with Alvaro, I mean I don't know, I feel like I don't think he's the right manager for Madrid, honestly. I think if you look at the best Madrid managers, you mentioned Zidane, and then other good Madrid managers, I think the most recent one obviously is Ancelotti, and I think Ancelotti was definitely good at player managing. I think later on, like in this last season, I think that's when things were a bit like kind of falling apart. But even before that, I think it was very good. I think he had a much closer connection to the players. But I actually think one of the biggest losses that Madrid lost were veteran players. So obviously Carvajal's there, but they lost players like Cruz, Modric, and even Lucas Vazquez. And those three like players are like, they're kind of like the veterans. They were in like Madrid's peak era where they were winning like the repeat UCLs. They play under Zidane. They're part of they're like Madrid all-timers. So they have so much experience, and they're even though they're very good, I feel like they're, I guess you say, I think they have like less of an ego, or they don't at least show it compared to players like Vini and Mbappe. I feel like Mbappe and Vini are more like arrogant type players, and even Jude, they're more arrogant than I feel like Cruz and Modric. I feel like Cruz and Modric kind of earn your respect way more. So I feel like they're losing that presence in the locker room that kind of, I think, grounds everything. And I feel like they're losing that family connection that I think Madrid used to have. Because I feel like Madrid used to be more of like, I guess, more of a family. I mean, we've seen like under their prime teams with like Ronaldo, Marcelo, Casemiro, Modric, Cruz. I feel like they're more of like a family type team. And now it doesn't really seem that way. I feel like there's a lot of like, conflict and stuff. So I think that's just definitely adds on to Madrid's performances. And on the contrary side with Barca, I think Barca right now are more of a family than ever. I feel like every Barca player is so friendly and so like close to each other. They call themselves like hermanos, like brothers. We know that even though Rafinha and Lamine are like 10 years or something apart, they're so close, like they're best friends. They have their own celebration together that we know of right now. Even Lewandowski, who's much older than the players, and even though the players are usually like they're very young, like Barca's a very young squad, he's still able to connect with all of them. So that, he's kind of like a very good presence as well. And even someone like Szczesny gets along very well with the players. So I feel like Barca right now they have such a good connection. Even Flick, he kind of enforces that connection. He acts like a father figure, and I feel like with that kind of helps Barca's atmosphere become better. And I think Flick's a very good manager in handling tough situations. Like after the Chelsea loss, he didn't give up any hope. He kind of gave a promise to the fans that we'll see new Barca, and Barca have not lost a game since. So I feel like the locker room and just the type of people you have in your team have such a huge effect. I think you see that right now between Madrid and Barca right now that Barca's manager Flick, he's amazing. He's able to bring these players together, and he has a good balance of I guess being like serious and strict because he disciplines players if they're late, and he's very good tactically. But he also has the side of being very like friendly and a good people person. And the teammates as well are able to get along so well. I feel like with Madrid, I think like they're not in the right space right now. I think I even saw a report that after the Albacete loss, I think Carvajal or someone reported that the locker room was just silence and no one really took accountability. And I feel like that's not really a good sign coming off a loss like that, which is just an embarrassment to the fans. I think the fans, they deserve an apology more than anyone. So I guess that's kind of what I think.
Yeah, and just going back to the Cruz and Modric point, I think that's a really good point because since losing them, I feel like Madrid have really lost like that controller in their midfield. And obviously players like Aguilera, a player like Camavinga and Tchouaméni, they are really talented players, but it just doesn't feel like any of them can really fully fill in the role of a Cruz or a Modric in that midfield. And it was also rumored in the summer like Modric actually wanted to extend for one more year and play at Madrid as maybe like a substitute player, but it felt like he was kind of forced out a bit. But I do think, they haven't really been able to replace someone like that in midfield. And it kind of also relates to like Barcelona and how since Busquets were retired, it felt like and left, I think there was a massive gap in our midfield for a long time. And it felt like we were really struggling. And I think only recently, like the past year or two, we've been able to find the Pedri and Frankie de Jong pivot, which has really like thrived. And it felt like even like losing a player like that in midfield for both clubs, it feels like it's a big loss. I do think if Madrid were to go back in the summer and they could have signed a player like Zubimendi from Arsenal or like from Real Sociedad at the time, I think that would have been a better signing for them because they do really need a controller in midfield at the moment. And you mentioned like Madrid at the manager point of view. I don't think they're going to do too much with the squad or like with this manager. I think again, looking at the big picture, like this is the first time in 5 years a second-tier team has knocked out Madrid out of the Copa del Rey, and unfortunately, it happened for Arbeloa in his first game. So, really not good luck for him. And even though without like Mbappe and several starters, like the squad depth didn't look as strong as people thought, and I felt like defending their set pieces and counters was really awful from their part. So, again, a lot to work on for Madrid as a team. And you mentioned like the tight knittedness of like Barca's squad. I feel like everyone's like together, and it just feels like with Madrid side, it's a lot of egos and stuff clashing together, which is not as good. And I think having like a Galacticos team, I don't think it's gonna thrive in the modern era. We've seen teams like PSG have Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, and really not win anything at all in the big picture. So again, having a player like Mbappe, we've seen him like there's been rumors that like almost every time Mbappe ends up sacking a manager. So there's like a long list of managers that have been sacked due to like Mbappe being at the club. So it does feel like the Madrid are gonna have to target a manager that can really control all the egos in the squad. But do you think like this really damages Madrid's season? And do you feel like I feel personally like even though like Madrid are having a poor season, later stage in the Champions League, like you never can rule them out because they are like a Champions League team. We've known them to, even in their worst years, kind of end up winning a Champions League. So I do think they still are like contenders for Champions League, especially in the later stages. But it does feel like right now, at the moment, Barcelona, I don't want to jinx it, but they are favorites for La Liga. They are favorites for like the Copa del Rey going forward. And I do think we can like really contend for a domestic treble again. And the main thing for Barcelona is just doing really well in the Champions League, I guess. But what are your thoughts on like Madrid season going forward?
Yeah, I think again, like I mentioned, the standard of Madrid's standards are always winning a trophy. Because Madrid are a team of like prestige and like just trophies. Like they're known for trophy winners and stuff, right? So I think a season without a trophy is a huge disappointment. And I think with someone like Perez, the president, it's such a bad look on him because he's a president, so he's like running the club, and getting no results is a bad look. That's why he's so, I guess strict and a bit picky because he wants lot of success. So that's why he didn't like really that's why he was letting Ancelotti get sacked, and same with Xabi Alonso. So I feel like he'll be super mad, and you even like the El Clasico losses, because El Clasico is such a huge fixture. It's probably one of the most like watched fixtures, no matter like the type of players that are playing. So, like, it's just such a known rivalry, and it's a big game that a lot of people tune in for. So if you're Madrid and you and like a neutral fan that sees Barca dominate Madrid completely, it's such a bad look on Madrid. And out of the six last El Clasico, Madrid have lost 5 of them to Barca, and no Madrid fan can be happy with that. And Perez is definitely infuriated with that. And there's still like another El Clasico that's gonna happen in the Camp Nou in like May, right? And May, and then there might be, in the UCL, if Barca and Madrid meet, then there might be one there. So there's still like El Clasicos left, but I feel like Madrid season right now is just not looking that high. Again, like I said, there's the La Liga left and the UCL left. I think with the Liga, the thing with the Liga is like with any league, the thing you need is like consistency and like consistent results, like usually a win. And I think Barca are the team right now that I feel like no matter how Barca played, they're still able to get the win. Like we saw today, right? Like Barca were able to get the 2 goals and just win the game. And last season in the league, there were a lot of games I thought Barca didn't play that strong, but Barca still got the win. And I think in that thing, I think Barca are, they're like the better team in like a league type phase, where a league like in like a league basically, where if it matters than just like someone getting wins and like over a period of time, I think Barca are able to do that with this current squad. And I can mention with the UCL how you can never count out Madrid because they're known for the UCL, right? But I feel like what I think about 2 things. One is I agree in a sense where Madrid have such high quality players like Mbappe, Vinny, Jude. They have Courtois, such a good keeper who can individually save them games. Like we saw in the UCL final versus Liverpool. I feel like with those type of players, Madrid can definitely like somehow they can like somehow make a run. But at the same time, I feel like I don't think that's the case, and I feel like if someone were to not count on Madrid in the UCL this season, I would probably agree, because I think Madrid don't have the squad right now that can make them like super good against top tier teams. So like for example, we saw Madrid play Liverpool in like in the UCL this season, and we saw them play City, and they lost both those games. So I feel like versus the big teams, Madrid just don't perform well, and I think that comes down to their squad they have. So for example, like their midfield, I think is kind of it's not the strongest. I feel like we mentioned with the Kroos and Modric, those are such high quality players that Kroos himself stabilized the whole midfield. Without him, they have Chouameni, they have Camavinga, who I heard something about Camavinga maybe leaving or like something about that. I don't really remember too much, but they have Camavinga, they have Chouameni, they have Valverde, who he has to run right back shifts because the 2 right backs, Carvajal and Trent, have had like injury stuff. So Valverde's not really used correctly, and I think this season he hasn't been having that great of a season. Even though he's so dangerous on like free kicks like we saw versus Atleti, I think overall he just hasn't been as good as we kind of expect or we seen from him. And yeah, even the back line, I think the back line's pretty weak. I think we saw versus like versus Barca, so the Asensio was playing like right back and stuff, and I think like he's kind of weak there, and he's not the best defender in my opinion. I feel like he's very dirty, and he can easily draw like yellow cards and stuff, or even a red card. So I think their backline is just a mess in itself. I think Huijsen's good, but I don't think Huijsen's like, I don't think he has like a duo, or even I don't think him himself can become some like insane center back on his own. I feel like Madrid would need like someone else, and I think they don't have that. I think like Militao, he's good, but he's also injury prone. Alaba's coming off a lot of injuries. I don't know how good he would be. And Rudiger, I feel like Rudiger is definitely good, but I feel like this season at least he hasn't been as impressive, and he's kind of had a lot of mistakes. Like first City with the pen, and also first PSG in the Club World Cup, he made some bad mistakes. Oh yeah, I feel like this squad, like I think if you don't count on them, I think it's kind of fair. I mean, even last season, looking at their exit versus Arsenal, I think Arsenal thoroughly outplayed Madrid in both legs. And I just think there's not really much hope there because Madrid were having their best players play and they got outplayed by Arsenal. And we know Arsenal this season are looking much stronger than last season. So I feel like there are a lot of better teams right now in the UCL that can definitely beat Madrid in a two-leg thing. Like I think if Barca were to play Madrid, I think Barca definitely could beat Madrid in the two legs. I think other teams like even Bayern, maybe even a Chelsea, maybe probably City as well, and PSG, I think those teams would definitely beat Madrid in two legs. So, I don't think the UCL is too hopeful for them right now. And like I said with the league, I mean the league's always up in the air, and it's obviously too early to say like predict anything. But I feel like just knowing Barca like in like last season, even this season so far, I think Barca are usually good at like the league and can get like the wins to win the league.
Yeah, I mean, I do think I agree with you. Like Madrid do fall out of like the contenders, the favorites of the Champions League and stuff, because of like their recent issues with the manager and like all the player egos and all that stuff. So I do think they need to sort it out. But again, you can never just rule out Madrid because they do have that kind of Champions League heritage. They always like clutch up in those big moments. So you never know what's gonna go on with the rest of the season in the Champions League at least. But I do think they are like really big favorites at the moment. But I do want to bring up another point. Like we do have to like I would really feel like we have to value Flick a lot more because like having a manager like him out of nowhere. I mean, even like before he was appointed, I really didn't like value him as much. I didn't think like he was supposed to be our first option, and it feels like I was really proven so wrong because having him, even like with the resources he's had, like very little like money to spend and very little like I guess allowance to get new players. Like even recently, he's mentioned he needs a center back, but the board's kind of got him Cancelo, who's not really that kind of player. He's kind of like a fill-in right back. So I do think like with the resources Flick has had, he's done so well. He's won us like 4 trophies already, and it feels like we are going to continue doing well under him. So again, yeah, just shout out to Flick. Like even with all the manager like news in the season, we've seen Amram leave, we've seen Maresca leave, a lot of managers leaving their clubs. So again, I just wanted to mention Flick for a second and just appreciate him a bit more. But again, yeah, in the past 24 hours we've seen Barca survive a brutal tie away against Racing Santander, and we continue keeping our 11 winning streak alive. But again, yeah, it was a really hard game. I think it was against Pablo Torre, like his old club, who he came from, ex-Barca player. So I mean, and they also gave us the guard of honor. So respect to them. I feel like they were really respectful with us. So again, shout out to them. But again, we did survive and keep our 11 winning streak alive. So Madrid, and seeing Madrid lose to a small Segunda club, it feels like the mood around both clubs could not be more different at the moment. So Flick's team feels like it's more resilient. Even when they're playing badly, they seem to grind out the results. But Arbeloa's first game in charge, they feel like they have serious questions on their mentality and overall structure of the club. So again, a lot of things to work on for Madrid's part, and I feel like we do, obviously as Barcelona, we still have a couple of things to work on tactically, and I feel like we can improve in games like these. But again, really good to see that we at least get the win and we do continue on to the Copa del Rey quarters. So yeah, any other final thought before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'd like to maybe brag a bit that when Xavi was announced that he's going to leave, I think the person that I said should replace him was Flick. I think that was my first choice. I think there are a lot of names going around, like Nagelsmann, De Zerbi.
What word? Yeah, it was Nagelsmann. I think De Zerbi. I was
Mata,
also looking forward to Mata. Yeah.
Mata. And I said
Honestly,
Flick.
yeah, where would we be with them, bro? I mean, we'd be like.
I said, okay, I'll be honest. One of the main I think with Flick, I saw that one clip of him with Germany and like his like the way he I guess approached the players. I think every team would want to play a person like that who's very soundly disciplined and kind of like being so super serious, taking everything serious. I think he's that type of manager. I think Barca at that time needed a player like needed a manager like that. And I think kind of funnily enough, when he joined Barca, I feel like he became a bit like he showed more of his soft side. Like you see him smiling so much, but like I feel like with other clubs, like when he was with Bayern and stuff, he didn't really show that. He seems such like a serious like like that type of guy, like a straight faced guy. But with Barca, we see him like so happy around the players. Like he's very close with Pedri, Lewandowski, Rafinha, Lamine. He treats them like his kids. And it's kind of nice to see, right? And yeah, I think Flick was such a good It is an amazing pull from Laporta. I do still feel like the way the Xavi saga happened. I don't like the way it ended. I feel like it was very disrespectful towards Xavi, but I mean, I think Xavi, I guess, the thing with Xavi is that I think at the end of the day, I think he values more about how Barca is doing rather than, what happened. Because even after like everything that happened with Laporta and him, he still supported. Like he posted on social media and stuff about Flick and the current Barca team, and his children are wearing like Lamine's kits or like those the new kits. So I feel like he's the type of person that probably won't hold as a grudge or anything, and he cares more about the well-being of Barca. And I think he loves Flick a lot and what Flick's doing, and I think he knows that Flick was the right guy to take over his position. So yeah, I think Flick is great. Also quickly mention about Cancelo because I thought he would have gotten minutes today, but I guess he didn't. So I'm not sure what kind of game he'll debut in again, because I feel like if there was a game, I think today would have been a pretty good game to do it. It's a Copa del Rey game. I feel like in the league it's a bit more riskier because sometimes the league game may be I feel like the league, if Barca are struggling, then you want to sub in players that'll make a huge impact. And I feel like with Cancelo, he's too new to the squad and the system that you don't know if he's going to be able to do that or not. So I thought he would have probably incorporated him in a much more safer game. And even Araujo, I thought Araujo, he got like a few minutes against Madrid. I thought he would have probably started today because I feel like Barca, I think he could have definitely helped Barca defensively. Like I know people clown on him like and his decision making, but I don't think he's that bad where he's gonna get a red card in this game. I don't think he's like that type of player. I think he's still a pretty good defender, and I thought he could have, I thought he could have gone minutes, but I guess he didn't. And I guess before we end it off, I'll just quickly mention my man of the match because we didn't do that yet. This game, I don't think there's like too many standout players. The ones off the top of my head, I would say are like Joan Garcia for sure is up there. I think Pedri's cameo was pretty good. I think Lamine, even though he didn't have the best of the game, I think the thing is with him is that he has the ball so much that even when he's not having his best game, he still makes impact directly or indirectly, where he's able to, open up space for the team by drawing defenders, and with the ball, he's just able to beat defenders as well and just like play with the ball and create chances. So I thought he was definitely good. And then, what else? I guess those are the really players that come off the top of my head. Ferran, I guess, for the goal, but I feel like besides that, he didn't do anything really. And yes, for me also got the assist, but I think I'll go with Joan Garcia. I think that last minute saved Barca from potential embarrassment. So I'm just gonna go with that. And I think I was a bit disappointed in certain players today. I feel like some players could have done more. So I think Rashford in the first half of in the first few months, I think he was very good because he was very good at boosting GA, but I think recently we've seen that he lost his starting position to Rafinha on the left wing, and his finishing hasn't been that great, and I feel like he hasn't like proving himself too much. And there's talks about Barca wanting to sign him permanently, so I feel like if he really wants that, then he has to prove himself more and more work in and just show the results in like future games. But I thought he could have done better, and I think Lamine could have done better, but I think he still had some impact. And I think the team overall could have just done better, but I guess the result's the result, and he's got to move on from it.
Yeah, I do agree with you. Like, no one like really was too special today. I think it was really like a nothing game, honestly. Like with the players, I do think my man of the match would be. I agree with you. I think it's Joan Garcia because he did save us from going to extra time and potentially even losing this game. So yeah, shout out to him. But yeah, as you mentioned, a disappointment. I think a lot of disappointment in, I guess, Bernal and Casado. I don't think they did really well as a duo. I do think if we do want to like see them thrive, I think only one of them can start with like either a Pedri or Frankie de Jong, because I think without both Frankie and Pedri, I think our midfield drops off a lot. So I think for that, both of them, one of them needs to start with either Pedri or Frankie de Jong. And then also, you mentioned Rashford. Like, I feel like his form has really dropped off since the first half of the season. I feel like Like honestly, he hasn't really done much. I mean, I haven't like seen him take on his man as much, even like take shots. Like I feel like he's really passive for Barca at the moment, and I feel like he does a lot of back passing. So honestly, I do really want him to do well, but it feels like if we are gonna spend that 30 million on him, I think he needs to prove himself a bit more, just like in these kind of games, and I guess get more involved. And also, yeah, I mean, I don't think he did too much. I guess his recent form as well. I know he's still struggling with like pubalgia. I think he could do a bit better. I think again we're just not seeing him take on his man and get past them enough. And I feel like also like his creative side is slightly kind of off a bit in recent weeks. I feel like he's going a bit too deep. But yeah, I just feel like this game was really like not too impressive for it on the player hand. I do think it's really important to get the win per se, but again, going back to what you said about Xavi, I think yeah, shout out to him because you know in the circumstances he was in, like he also like with Flick, he also didn't have like a lot of backing, like money wise and like financially, he didn't have enough to spend. And we saw under his like tenure, like there was a lot of loans. We saw João Cancelo coming on loan. We saw João Felix also, like those two coming on loan. I feel like with what Xavi had, he winning the league in his season, like I think that's really impressive. And I feel like he was a really big stepping stone for the club. And I feel like Flick really, I guess, improved on what Xavi kind of built as the foundation. So again, yeah, I feel like Xavi should also be appreciated for his work. And it is rumored that he might also get a job real soon. I think United was kind of rumored, but I think that kind of died down. And also a couple of other Premier League teams. I feel like a club like Bournemouth or Fulham could also be like a stepping stone for him. I don't think going to like a big team, top six team into the Premier League would be a great step for him. Like just coming off the Barca manager tenure. So again, I feel like yeah, seeing Xavi back managing a team I'd look forward to that. But again, on Cancelo, I also expected to see him. Maybe I was like some of my friends were like saying he could even start today, but I didn't think that did. I thought he would get like minutes off the bench. But again, I don't think he's fully fit yet. As I mentioned before, like he's only played 2 games this season for Al Hilal, so I don't think he's fully fit. And he's only had like his first training session with the team, so I do think Flick is gonna take his time with it. I think he's gonna take. I think the first game we could see Cancelo being like subbed on or get minutes in could be in the Champions League or even like against next game against Sociedad, where he could be subbed on to get a couple minutes. But again, I mean, wrapping it up, I guess that's our Copa del Rey special. I mean, a big win for Barca, even though it was nervy and it's just a big, massive away win against Racing Santander. And again, the shocking Madrid loss against Albacete. I feel like it's one of the wildest shocks of the season. But again, yeah, let us know what your thoughts are about the Barca performance and Madrid fans. If this game was on Arbeloa himself, like if he managed it poorly, or the players are bored. So yeah, let us know your thoughts and make sure to like, subscribe, and let us know your takes in the comments. We'll be back with more Barca talk, La Liga coverage, and Premier League coverage, and our drafts and debates soon. So be tuned in for that. And yeah, thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.